Welcome to episode 9. In this episode, we will be making a wall key holder. Our focus in this video will be adding accessories to our project. It's a great way to express yourself in your work and add some artistic creativity. It can also be a way to incorporate a piece of work into a theme of the room. Adding some black metal can emphasize a rustic or country look, while doing some colorful hooks can easily incorporate into a child's room. With that said, let's dive in and get dirty. So we're ready for our project. Now what I did here is, instead of making them all the same size so they were all uniform, I went ahead and randomized them. So I got this one's cut at 20, 16 and a half, 21, and 19. I just thought that gave it more of a kind of a country look. Strictly up to you. If you want to make them all the same size, feel free to do so. The next thing I want to do is I want to what they call dog ear them. And what that means is I'm going to cut a small 45-degree angle out of each one of these corners. And that's called a dog ear. Kind of give it a fence type look. So I'm going to go make those cuts now. And that again is completely up to you. You can round them. You can do whatever you want. Or just leave them square like they are. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and dog ear these. So I'll be right back. So now that I have these dog eared, let's go ahead and talk about how I cut these angle pieces. I actually did these on my miter saw, but you can do them yourself by, and I made sure I did by measurement. So if you measure up 1.5 inches and out 5 inches and draw a line, that is, you'll have the exact same angle that I have here. Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to do that angle where it's the end grain. And I'll show you what I mean here. So this here is an angle cut, but it's on the end grain. So this end grain is not going to hold a screw very well, and it may even split on us. So when I did it, I measured up the 1.5 inches, and I'm just spitballing here, 5 inches, and then I did my cut like that. So I have this piece instead of a piece like this, which would be end grain, and we do not want that. So make sure that you're going with the grain of the wood when you do your angle cut. Now the pieces I have, I actually kind of dug most of them out of my scrap pile. So they kind of got an aged look to them. And then this piece right here, I'm actually in the process of fixing. It had a really bad split in it that I wouldn't be able to use. But when I was looking at it for this project, God, it just goes so well with this project that I went ahead and put some glue in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and fix that piece so I have that good looking piece right there on the front. Alright, with that said, those are the pieces that we need. Now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and glue these 4 pieces together. So I'm going to go grab a set of clamps, and these are small enough to fit in the clamps that we made in I believe episode 3. Just remember to put like a piece of saran wrap or wax paper on the bottom so it doesn't adhere itself to the clamp. So I'm going to go grab a set of clamps and we will get this glued together. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a damp rag and I'm going to wipe up the glue squeeze out and then dry it. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take, this is just a piece of plastic, nothing more, and I got 2 pieces of wood here that I am going to use to clamp so that they are nice and flush across the top here. But before I put the clamps on, I'm going to put these in there. And what these are, and they work great for what I'm about to show you, is these are actually wall spacers for putting down wood flooring or tile or whatever. But when taken apart, they actually work great to put pressure on the wood to help square it up. So I'm going to go ahead and add these, and I'm only going to tighten it down until it gives me just the slightest bit of resistance. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And the reason why I put this piece of plastic on here is because if I don't, this design actually ends up in the wood. So I'm just basically protecting the wood. So now we'll get some pressure on there. And then I'm going to clamp this just a little bit more. And then just kind of tap these in with a hammer. And then put a little more pressure. Alright, check these again. Yeah, looks good there. Perfect. So we'll finish clamping this together. Now I'll grab my rag, get that glue squeeze out as much as I can. The more I wipe up now, the less I have to sand. So alright, so there we go. We're going to go ahead and let this dry overnight, and we will finish her up tomorrow. So after my glue dried, I went ahead and hit this with a 120 grit all the way around so it's nice and smooth. I also hit these sharp edges here, kind of rounded them over. So now what I want to do is, these are the hooks I'm going to be using. So I want to take a kind of a mock measurement using my little shelf kind of here. And I'm thinking I want it right about, so I'm going to say right about here. So this hook isn't covered up, so it's still usable. So with that said, so now that I have my measurement, I'm going to go ahead and line this up right on that line. And what I want to make sure of is that the butt end here is completely flush on my project. Because if you're going to be tossing mail in there, you don't want it just to shoot out the bottom end. So I'm just going to take a sight measurement here to make sure everything lines up the way I want it to. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to use my combination square, and I'm going to make sure that this piece right here is perfectly lined up at a 90-degree angle. I don't want it to be crooked. So get that lined up. So now that I got it lined up, I'm going to go ahead and throw some clamps on here. And I'm going to do it on both sides. So there we go. Now I'm going to be using two different screws here. I've got the 2.5-inch screws, and I have the 1 5/8 screws. So now I want to take a measurement and see about where I want these screws at so they don't poke out the back end. So I'm going to go ahead and put a mark right here for the pilot hole. And then I want it on the exact same spot on the opposite side. So I'll use my square for that. Now it's just a matter of drilling the pilot hole. Now it's up to you. You can, if you want, put some glue on these before you clamp them down. Again, completely up to you. In this scenario, I am not using glue. So we'll go ahead and do our pilot holes. Okay, I apologize for that. Seems the video cut out there. So where we're at. Okay, so we did the pilot holes while we had the clamps on. Here. Okay, so we did the pilot holes. Now the next thing I did after I did the pilot holes is I did do the countersink. Now when I did the countersink though, I only did it far enough just for the head of the screw. I didn't go in very far. The reason why is because if I push this too far, I could get a split out, a little tear out right here, and I wanted to avoid that. So it worked out perfectly. So I did the pilot holes, I did a slight countersink, and then I went ahead and put these screws in. After I did that, I moved the clamp to hold down here on both sides. I measured out my 2.5-inch screw on the back side here to see how far I needed to put it to where it did not poke through the back side. So I did my measurement there. I put a mark on this one. I used my combination square, and I came across and put a mark at the exact same spot on the other side. So again, I pilot holed these two. I went ahead and countersunk them just enough to accept the screw head itself. And then I went ahead and put in my 2.5-inch screws. So I have an 1 5/8 inch here. I have a 2.5 inch here. Now another thing I want to mention is if you don't feel comfortable making an angle cut like this, you can go ahead and do this so that it is straight, so it would sit, so your little pocket here would sit straight. You'll just have to cut a piece here on the bottom to put in there so that you don't have a big hole here for, you know, if you're going to toss mail in there or whatever you're going to use it for. So, but by doing the angle, I was able to put this piece flush so I didn't have to worry about sealing this bottom part here. Okay, so the next thing I did is I bought 3 hooks. And I put them where I wanted them by sight. Once I had them where I wanted them by sight, I put one mark on this one here on the end. After that, I lined up my combination square and I drew a line all the way across. So once I had that line, I just took one of the hooks and I scribed the holes where I wanted the hooks. Now I used the line in the center of the hole, so I had basically had a guide on where I wanted to scribe my holes at. Once I had them scribed, I went ahead and did a pilot hole on each one. I did put a piece of sacrificial underneath there, but if you can avoid it, try not to go all the way through. Now the other thing I noted is the screws that came with these hooks are long, so long that they will poke out the back side. So to fix that, I just went ahead and bought some number 6 3/4 inch wood screws, so that way it would not poke through. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to add my D-ring hangers. And I'm just going to take a mock measurement. Let's say I want it right about here. So I'm going to mark that hole, get my combination square, and I'm going to put a mark right there. There's the 2 bottom holes for these D-ring hangers. Okay, next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and scribe that bottom hole. After I have that hole scribed, I'm going to put 1 screw in. And I'm going to do that for the other side too. And now I want to put the screw in on the bottom screw on this side also. Alright, the reason why I'm only doing the bottom screws is that way I can adjust this to make sure that it's perfectly lined up so they're nice and straight. Once I have that, then I can go ahead and scribe the top holes. And now that I have the top holes, I can put the top screw in. These are 3/4 inch screws that came with it, so they are not going to poke out the front side. Perfect. So before I put the hooks in, I'm going to seal this. Now it's up to you on what you want to use to seal it. You're welcome to use anything you want. You can paint it, doesn't matter. But I am going to use some premium paste wax. So with paste wax, you just have to put a little on a rag and rub it in. Now the reason I'm using paste wax is I'm kind of looking for more of an antique-y look. So I'm not looking for a lot of gloss here. All I'm looking for is just to protect the project. And paste wax will do exactly what I want it to. So it's just a matter of you rub it on and then just kind of rub it in. See, now you can see I'm not getting any gloss or, you know, anything that would make it look like it just came out of a factory. I'm basically just getting the protection and making the wood look basically kind of antique-y. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this project with paste wax, and then we'll put the hooks on. So again, just rub it on. And once you got it rubbed on, you basically just rub it in. Make sure you get all the end grains. So there we go. Well, now that we've got it rubbed on, I'm just going to go over it again, just kind of rub it in a little bit more. All right, and that takes care of that. Now I can go ahead and mount my hooks. This concludes episode 9 of the series. In episode 10, we will be making a tiered garden planter. We will need 2 1x6x8s and 2 1x3x8s. We'll also need some ground cover felt, also known as weed block. We will also be learning how to use pocket screws. You don't have to invest a lot of money into a big fancy pocket screw jig. I have used this very simple one for years before I upgraded, and it works just fine. I will link both of them in the description, and you can choose which one fits your budget. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment section, and I will get to them as soon as I can. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified of new episodes as they become available. You can support my channel by making a donation. The link will be in the description. Gather the materials and let's have some fun while learning.